My name is Anafifa binti Muhammad Sharif, and I am one of the group members for Group 10. So today Group 10 is going to present about ketogenesis. So introduction. What is ketogenesis and ketone bodies? Ketogenesis is a metabolic pathway that produces ketone bodies which provide an alternative form of energy for the body.
Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. I'm Alia and I'm going to explain to you when does ketogenesis occur and when does the ketone bodies are actually produced. Well, ketogenesis is a process in which when the carbohydrates are not available to meet energy needs, then the body will break down the fatty acids, in which the fatty acid will undergo the beta oxidation to get acetyl coenzyme A. The acetyl coenzyme A molecules would then enter the citric acid cycle for further oxidation and energy production. Well, remember, the cells of our body can break down and can oxidize the fatty acids into acetyl coenzyme A molecules. And what happens to these acetyl coenzyme A molecules next is actually depends on the conditions inside our cells. So, if we have high levels of oxaloacetate molecules inside the cells, then the oxaloacetate can actually be combined with the acetyl coenzyme A to generate an intermediate of the citric acid cycle, which is the citrate, and that ultimately can be used to help form ATP molecules. But what happens if we don't have enough oxaloacetate inside our cells? For example, if we are fasting and we are not having enough glucose molecules inside our bodies, then what the liver will do is it will begin the process of gluconeogenesis to ensure that the peripheral cells get enough glucose to use to produce ATP. So, recall back, remember that in gluconeogenesis, in the liver cells, the oxaloacetate will be used to help to form glucose. And if the gluconeogenesis process keep occurring over repeated amount of time, then the oxaloacetate will be greatly reduced. Then we don't have enough oxaloacetate to combine with the acetyl coenzyme A to help generate that intermediate of citric acid cycle and ultimately generate ATP. And so, low levels of oxaloacetate and high level of acetyl coenzyme A molecules means that the acetyl coenzyme A molecules cannot be fed into the citric acid cycle. And under such conditions, what will happen is that the acetyl coenzyme A molecules that produced via the beta oxidation pathway will follow a different reaction pathway that we call ketogenesis, where it forms the ketone bodies. So, once again, acetyl coenzyme A generated via beta oxidation of fatty acids can only be used to form ATP via the citric acid cycle if we have enough oxaloacetate inside the cell. So, if our carbohydrate intake is low, for example, if we are fasting, then the liver will use up the majority of the oxaloacetate to help generate glucose via gluconeogenesis. And by reducing the oxaloacetate levels, what that basically means is that those acetyl coenzyme A molecules will be diverted to a different pathway known as ketogenesis, where the formation of ketone bodies occur. Now, how does the ketone bodies is actually produced? I will pass this presentation to Taufik, and he will explain to you about the process of ketogenesis in details so that you could understand better.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So I'll be explaining about the process of ketogenesis, where excessive acetyl-CoA is converted to ketone bodies, and then later in the process will be reconverted back to acetyl-CoA to be used for ATP synthesis. Now, for the ketogenesis, there are four main steps, which is the condensation, hydrolysis, hydrogenation, and also decarboxylation. So for the condensation, there are two condensation, which is first one, two acetyl-CoA molecule will undergo condensation to produce acetyl-acetyl-CoA, and then this acetyl-acetyl-CoA will combine with another acetyl-CoA molecule to form acetoacetate. Now acetoacetate, for the third step, it can go hydrogenation to form 3-hydroxybutyrate, and it can also undergo decarboxylation to form aceto. Now this is a more detailed diagram of how the process will occur. First, the acetyl-CoA, two molecules of acetyl-CoA will undergo condensation in the presence of the enzyme acetoacetyl-CoA thiolase. So this thiolase enzyme is the one responsible for the condensation of two acetyl-CoA molecules. And then this will form an acetoacetyl-CoA, and it will release one coenzyme molecule. And this acetoacetyl-CoA will undergo condensation again with another acetyl-CoA molecule in the presence of the HNG-CoA synthase. Now this HNG-CoA synthase will produce, this process will produce 3-hydroxy-3-methyl-butyryl-CoA. And if you are wondering what is HNG-CoA, it is short form for hydroxy-methyl-butyryl-CoA. Now, HMG-CoA in the cytosol, it will drive the process to cholesterol synthesis. But in this case, we are producing ketone bodies, which it will occur in the mitochondria. So the HMG-CoA in mitochondria will produce ketone, will drive the process to ketone synthesis. So the HMG-CoA can undergo hydrolysis in the presence of HMG-CoA lyase. So this enzyme will break down HMG-CoA into acetyl-CoA and also acetoacetate. Now, acetoacetate can spontaneously degrade into acetone by a process of decarboxylation, and acetone is not really useful in our body metabolism, so it will be simply exhaled from our body in the process of respiration. Now, acetoacetate can also undergo a hydrogenation process, which is catalyzed by beta-hydroxybutyrate dehydrogenase to form beta-hydroxybutyrate, or you can call it as 3-hydroxybutyrate as well. This process is fueled by NADH and also a H+ ion, which they donate the hydrogen to acetoacetate to form beta-hydroxybutyrate. Now, if you're asking in this whole process, where is the ketone bodies? Well, ketone bodies, there are 3 ketone bodies in this whole process, which is acetoacetate, acetone, and also beta-hydroxybutyrate. Since acetone is not useful in our body, acetoacetate and beta-hydroxybutyrate are the ones will be used to fuel energy for our body. Now, how do these ketone bodies become energy supply for our body? Well, the answer is that the process of ketogenesis, which means the formation of these ketone bodies, is a reversible process. So from this butyrate to the acetoacetate to acetyl-CoA and finally to acetyl-CoA, it's all a reversible process. Except for that acetoacetate to form back acetoacetyl-CoA, it requires a coenzyme A transferase enzyme, and succinyl-CoA as a fuel to donate coenzyme to acetoacetate to form acetoacetyl-CoA, and the succinyl-CoA will be released as succinate at the end of this process. And the acetoacetate will be reversed back to 2 molecules of acetyl-CoA via the enzyme thiolase, by the enzyme thiolase. So acetoacetyl-CoA will converted back to 2-acetyl-CoA, and these acetyl-CoA molecules can be used to fuel the citric acid cycle, which releases NADH and FADH for the ATP synthesis in the electron transport chain.
Hello, my name is Arvid Viswam, and today I will be explaining more about how ketogenesis affects our metabolism. As we all know, ketogenesis is the process of which our body produces ketone bodies, which acts as an alternative form of energy. Now, the main reason as to why we would need to have an alternative source of energy in the first place is to ensure that in cases of emergencies where our glucose reserves are low or depleted, our bodies would still have the necessary tools needed to generate energy. Ketosis is the condition or process that occurs when our body uses the ketone bodies for energy instead of the usual glucose. This situation mainly occurs in times where the glucose storage of our bodies are low or depleted. Now, this situation can be easily manipulated or triggered by having diets that are low in carbohydrates but are high in fat, also known as keto diets, which will be explained further upon by my friend. But to put it simply, our body needs energy to do work, and by doing more work, more energy is needed. And as we all know, carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, which is then used to generate energy. Having a low carbohydrate intake makes it so that the glucose levels in our body will not be enough to generate energy, as the energy usage far outweighs the energy production of our bodies. This situation causes a need for an alternate source of energy, which is where ketosis comes into play. A low-carb and high-fat diet makes it so that when the carbohydrates are not able to meet the energy needs of our bodies will start targeting fatty acids to break it down. Aside from that, fasting is also a way to trigger ketosis in our body. Having a much lesser intake of food would naturally lead to a lower amount of carbohydrate intake, thus causing our bodies to break down fatty acids. Vigorous exercise also helps in triggering ketosis, where doing more exercise leads to our body needing more energy, which causes the depletion of glucose reserves to be faster, leading to the breakdown of fatty acids for energy. Both 3-hydroxybutyrate and acetoacetate can be converted back into acetyl-CoA, which can then enter the citric acid cycle to provide energy for ATP synthesis.
Hello everyone, my name is Hasmitra, and today I'll be talking about the next segment in our presentation, which is the keto diet. So what is a keto diet? It is also another term for a low carb and a high fat diet. So the idea behind this diet is to cut out most of the carbs that will be very easy to digest. For example, the foods that we very commonly have, which is sugar, rice, bread, soda, etc., etc. So how does this keto diet work? an individual would drastically reduce their carbohydrate intake, and then they would replace it with high amounts of fats. And when one does this repeatedly, it will cause the body to undergo ketosis. So in this ketosis process, burning fat will become more efficient in the body, and it will convert the fat into energy pretty easily. And also, the fat which is stored in the liver would also turn into ketones, and it would supply energy for the brain. Now let's talk about a few facts that I found for these keto diet. So one of the most common facts that I found is that it lowers blood sugar and also insulin levels. As we all know, one of the main functions of carbohydrate is it provides energy and also regulates blood glucose levels. So when you're having a keto diet, it's pretty self-explanatory because you have high amount of fat instead of having like carbohydrate intake. And of course the body would sense it, and henceforth it will lower the blood sugar and also insulin levels. Another fact that I found is that most fruit aren't as good to consume during the keto diet because they contain high carbs. However, low sugar berries are accepted. The next fact is that people on keto diet can lose from 2 to 8 pounds early in the diet. Well, it also depends on said individual. Maybe some of them would lose more than 8 pounds, some of them would lose less than 2 pounds. We never know. Another fact that I found very interesting is that on the first week of a keto diet, some people may experience keto flu. Now, when I say keto flu, it is not necessarily the flu. It's just that this individual would start feeling a little sick, a little woozy maybe, or maybe a little nauseous because, well, our body is trying to get used to. You're having a new form or new habit of being, and it's not really as balanced as before. So, of course, your body wants to get used to it, which is why maybe that's why the individual will feel a little sick. However, on a long-term basis, if one stays on a keto diet for I don't know, for like a very, very long time, your body would sense that you are restricting carbs and you are replacing the needed carbs with animal-based protein or fat. It is said that it could lead to a shorter lifespan. It's pretty obvious that it could lead to a shorter lifespan because you're not having a balanced diet. You're only focusing on one type of nutrient, which is of course going to affect your body really badly. It is fine to be on this diet momentarily, maybe if you want to lose weight or maybe some people feel insecure about it, but on a long-term basis it is not really recommended.